everybody. Welcome to Big E's Auto. I'm Big E. So today we're going to be working on the 2007 Ford Edge. We're going to be replacing the rear brake pads. They started squealing, especially in reverse. If you have an Edge that you're driving and you're in reverse and it squeals in reverse, take a look at your rear brake pads, see if they're getting thin, because some people don't know this, but on the actual spring that goes on your brake pad, there's an actual, and they make this on purpose, there's a tang that comes out from that spring, and when the brake pad wears down so far, that tang hits the rotor, so it makes a squeal noise, and it does that on purpose to let you know it's time to change the brake pads before you get in and destroy the rotor. So hers were, the wife's car, it was doing that. There's about, I would say, 30 seconds, maybe 4 left. Pennsylvania State Inspection for used to be 230 seconds for bondage, so it's right there where it needs to be changed. So I'm going to show you guys how to go ahead and change your rear brake pads on the 2007 Ford Edge, or probably any the older Ford Edges. So the first thing we're going to do here is we got to remove the tire and then get in there. Tools you're going to need before you get started. You're going to need a 3/4 inch socket breaker bar. I recommend to get the lug nuts off, or 19 millimeter. 19 millimeter and 3/4 inch are the same size, believe it or not. It's one of those weird sizes. Right, like I think 15 millimeter is 9/16. There's some of them that are the same size, metric and standard, but 3/4 or 19 millimeter to get the wheel off. You're going to need a 14 millimeter socket and ratchet and a combination wrench, because the top one you can use a ratchet, the bottom one you're going to need a combination wrench, because there's the shock mount comes down and it's welded. It's like a wing thing, and you can't get in there with the socket, so you're going to need a box end wrench to get that off, and you're going to need a C-clamp to push the piston back into the caliper so you can get the new pads on. I'll go over everything. Let me go ahead and get this wheel off, and we're going to dive right into it. Alright guys, Big E, I'm back here. So here's the caliper here. Okay, this is the bolt. The one is down here, and this is the one. See what I'm talking about? You're not going to be able to get in here with a ratchet. Okay, so I'm taking my 14 millimeter, okay, and go ahead and loosen that up. And wedge you, also your top one now, you can get in there with your ratchet. Careful of your brake hose, okay? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to let me adjust this, and we're going to take this out. Now, as you see, when I take this out, they're not very big, so make sure you put them at a safe place when you take this apart. I'm taking the bottom one out now. So you know they don't roll away or lose them, because that's just going to make your day terrible. Okay, so now you can take this up out of the way. Would be a good time to inspect your brake hose for cracks, tears, holes. Look for anything that's wet, would signify a leak. Now, while we're at it, we're going to check, see that these move, okay? Because this is what is going to make it that your brake pads spread open when you step off the brake. You want to make sure that both of these are good. If not, you're going to have to get in there with lube or something. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take the brake pads off. So we're going to take our straight screwdriver. Now you can see these are worn a little more, but still not down to the metal, so we're able to see. But you can see not very much there. I would say barely 30 seconds. So definitely are not safe for any long period of driving. So now what we want to do is we have our, let me move the camera up here for you. We have our caliper here, so careful with the hose. So we have the piston here, which is all the way out. So now you can spend a ton of money on fancy tools to push this in. I take the old brake pad, I put that against the piston like that. Then what I do, I have a 6-inch C-clamp make sure you're not on the brake line, and I go ahead, and it's kind of hard to see, but I don't know if this is going to help, but as I turn that in, I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it's going to push the piston back into the caliper. And then once that's in, pull that off. Voila. Okay. Now we'll be able to fit the new brake pads on there. Again, let's look at our rotor. Other than the normal rust, our surfaces look good. So what I will do now is, I forgot to get the new brake pads. So I'm going to ask my assistant, Levi. There's a blue and red box. Can you bring that over, buddy?
That one right there.
Right there, yep. My assistant's going to help me out. I forgot to grab the box with the new brake pads. But luckily he's here to help me out. You good?
Yep.
All right. So, thank you. So we're using the Duralast. There's some, if you have a Ford Edge, there's some part numbers for you. So now you want to make sure when you put your brake pads on, see how it's like curved. The one side's longer than the other. You want to make sure the curve matches your rotor, that it's curved, that, you know, that, not that it's backwards. So then this is kind of, it can be tricky. So what we're going to do is fit that into, sorry guys, my camera ain't the best. The spring, it's going to take some doing, but you can do it. And then, and it has to be level. If it's not straight, the top won't go in. So, there, see how that's against? Now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the outboard brake pad. See how that clamps like that? So that looks good. Everything's straight. Everything's in there. The clamps are on. Everything's good. Now the next step's going to be putting, watch that your hose, when you put your caliper back on, that your hose is not kinked. Okay? Make sure these here are inside. Okay? Top and bottom. Okay? So now, then take your bolts, and I just start them. Don't make them tight yet until you get them both in. So now you got the top one in, you got the bottom one in. So now what I'm going to do is make them hand tight here. At least I hope. It's going to make a liar out of me, I just know it. And then what I do is take my wrench, and then all I have to do is snug them up. Okay? So, and basically you're done. Okay? That's your basic how to do it. Your next step is put the wheel back on. You're going to want to start the car. Okay? Pump your brake 3 times just to set everything. It's going to go right to the floor till those pistons, remember we pushed those pistons all the way in. So you have to get them to come out so you get a brake pedal. And then that's it. The only other thing I recommend doing is to drive it around the block and double check your lug nuts. Make sure they're tight. Other than that, that's basically it, guys. Basically, I did both sides or the whole axle in like 30-35 minutes. Not that big of a deal, like I said. So hopefully that helps. A lot of the basic stuff is the same for every make and model, but this is just I figured she needed this done. So anyway, like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification button so you know whenever I have something going on. And as usual, watch out for each other, take care of each other. We'll see you next time right here, Big E's Auto. Take care for now.